Welcome back to an exciting episode of the Jag Bros. This is your host, Joey, with my two older brothers, Jack and JT. We are excited. There was some trade news at the trade deadline. The Jags were buyers for once, not sellers. It's always nice to be in the race for the playoffs. We're making moves. James Gladstone already, as GM, has had 6 trades. He has other GMs in the league pissed off at him for making trades. It's a great time as a Jag. We're making moves. It's exciting, and we're ready for this game against the Houston Texans Sunday. Let's get into the trade. What was your thoughts? How'd it go?
I thought it was a really good move, and shout out to you, Joey. You actually called this exact move on Monday when in our previous episode when we were talking about potential moves. It just makes a ton of sense. The Jaguars are very beat up at the wide receiver position. We had some guys on the practice squad out there on Sunday against the Raiders. You talked about it, Joey, where we were already talking to Jakobi Meyers after the game. And then the other thing is, even the guys that are healthy have had a problem and an issue with drops. If Jakobi Meyers is known for anything, it's consistency and very, very, very few drops. He only has 11 for his career. His career drop rate is under 3%. Last year was just at 1%. So he's going to play on the outside. Parker's going to slot into the slot receiver role more. It's a good move. It's not a home run move, but it's a smart move and a move that makes sense.
Just makes a ton of sense. That is what you were saying a couple of times there, Jack, and that's spot on. Every single move that this administration has done just makes sense. How many times through the years are we doing things where we're scratching our heads thinking, man, I don't really know about this, but maybe they're smarter than everybody else in the room. This one's like, wow, I didn't even know we could do this for that cost. Sounds great. Sign us up. Let's do it. And look, he's 28 years old. He has been, in my opinion, criminally underutilized in Oakland and in Vegas, considering their lack of good quarterback play. And yeah, the fact that he's led the league with least amount of drop passes over the years, that's really good. But Joey, you said something interesting. I hadn't seen this. We're making other GMs mad right now by our moves. What's that about?
Oh, you haven't seen the Bills GM video yesterday?
No. What did he say?
Bills GM Brandon Beane blames the new young GMs for all the trades at deadline because they played Madden and fantasy football too much. He said 99% of players are available for a price, but it's not fantasy football. And it's obvious that he's talking about the youngest GM that there is, James Gladstone, who went out, traded, and got probably a player that the Bills wanted and were looking at. I know that they were looking for a wide receiver. Sucks, Bills, but we needed him more, and James Gladstone got it done.
Exactly. I don't know why. He can complain all he wants, but the fact of the matter is we got it done, and most likely the same type of offer was to him. If he wanted to do a 4th and a 6th, go do it. But we're sitting on a wealth of late round capital, draft capital, and we were able to convert that into what could be, at least for the rest of this year, be our wide receiver 1.
Some people were talking about, did James Gladstone overpay or whatever? But if you look at every other trade that went down, this was an expensive trade deadline. You have Sauce Gardner going for 2 first and like a 1st, 2nd with A.D. Mitchell. I understand he hasn't lived up to his potential, but he's still super young. I think he's 24 years old, barely been in the league. So there's still a lot of potential that could be found in him. So you basically traded away almost 3 firsts or maybe 2 first and a 2nd, but huge price to pay for Sauce Gardner. And then you have the Cowboys spending a 1st and a 2nd and one of their old 1st round picks. And then you also had the Seahawks going after Shahid, who was a 4th round and a 5th round. So it was actually one more round more expensive than you. So James Gladstone actually got the cheapest deal during the deadline.
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, the way I look at this is this was essentially a 4th. Because we're sitting on so many 6th and 7ths, we're fine throwing those away. We can't have roster positions for all of them. So doing a 2-for-1 for a guy who's more talented, this is very similar to the Cleveland trade to me. and you're getting essentially dibs on being able to resign Jakobi Meyers. And you called it, Joey, on Sunday. The fact that we saw Baselli and others talking to Meyers, most likely that there is a plan to re-sign him for some sort of deal if he ends up panning out for us. So yeah, I don't think this was overpaying effectively a fourth round quote unquote rental for a guy who you could end up signing as being a solid contributor in your receiving core. Yeah, that's a great move.
I think they've already kind of decided that the De'Ami Brown experiment didn't work. We're not going to resign him. So they want to go out, get a veteran that they can add and who has very steady hands and that can go over the middle. And that is Jakobi Meyers to a T.
And I would be pissed if I was Indianapolis. That's so much draft capital and so much to give up for Sauce Gardner. Look, Sauce Gardner, no question, is a top 3 corner. But Joey, you've outlined multiple times through the years how short some of those shelf lives are on corners. One injury and they never come back the same. And then their cliff is so far. They hit this age cliff where all of a sudden they just fall off the edge and are nowhere near as talented. So yeah, I think if I were the Jets, I would be really happy to get him. Is he an upgrade? Absolutely. He is, and he's going to be good for them. I'm not saying I'm not dissing him as a player at all, but long-term strategy, what are you doing? Your team's not good enough to actually compete for the Super Bowl this year, and you just went all in on that, thinking you've just missed one piece. Boy, how many times have we seen in Jacksonville where we feel like, oh, we're just one piece away, and we over-leverage ourselves to get nothing?
And Daniel Jones, and he's only played 9 games, and it's been the easiest part of their schedule. The hardest part is still coming up. They still got the Chiefs. They still got Seattle. They have us twice. They have the 49ers. So all the more hard teams where you actually need to see if your quarterback is ready, your sample size of him being good is against bad teams, and he's only done it for 9 weeks. That's a lot to go all in on a guy that you just traded for a 4th round pick on a team that was just trying to get rid of him.
It's an all-in move, and time is going to tell because, hey, it wasn't that long ago we saw this exact move pan out and win a Super Bowl. The Rams traded 2 firsts for Jalen Ramsey. Did Ramsey live up to 2 firsts? Probably not, but it was enough to get them over to a Super Bowl. I agree. I think
Daniel Jones is Matthew Stafford now?
Yeah, no. Well, obviously, it's a very different style of offense. Jonathan Taylor could win the NFL MVP. He's that good. Tyler Warren could win Rookie of the Year. He's that good. It's just a different style of offense. I agree it was too much of a pay, but the move was the AFC at the top is wide open, and they are shooting their shot in a big way, and they're all in. All the chips are on the table, so from a Jaguars vantage point, 1, hopefully that doesn't pan out. But for 2, it probably means you're looking a lot more at the wild card than the division. But we still have 2 games against the Colts, and we still have 5 division games left.
Well, we have the easiest schedule coming up, and they have their hardest schedule. So I wouldn't say that the AFC South is just not possible. It's very possible, I believe, to actually still go out and win this. And as you point out, JT, I don't know if it's the age or whatever, but yeah, cornerback is such a finicky position. I mean, look at Bland, the Cowboys guy, who had a record year last year with pick sixes and everything, and then getting absolutely embarrassed by Marvin Harrison Jr., and everyone now wants to cut him. You can go from being the best to one of the worst at corner. It's not a sustainable being good position.
I agree with you, Joey. The division is still up for grabs, and it starts on Sunday. It starts on the road against Houston, where the Jaguars will be playing at 1:00 this Sunday. And we already beat the Texans earlier this season in Jacksonville, 17-10. But what's interesting about this game is a couple of things. Number 1, Houston's incredibly banged up. In fact, they're going to be without C.J. Stroud. They're going to be potentially without Will Anderson and some of their other key cogs on the defense. So we're going to be seeing a different Houston team. Houston's right on the verge, it feels like, of completely giving up. In fact, if we win this Sunday, I think they are mathematically eliminated from being able to win the division. So a huge potential step here with a win for Jacksonville. The Vegas line has moved from a 3-point favorite of Houston to all of a sudden a 1.5-point favorite for Jacksonville. Obviously, the news of CJ Stroud being out has been the biggest contributor. Devin Lloyd is supposed to be playing. Take us to the offense, guys. What do we think about our offense versus their defense?
This is going to be a physical game. That's just the way Houston plays. Houston has the best defense in the entire NFL. Even in that game in week 3, we struggled to score. We were at 10 points pretty much the whole game until Trevor led us on that touchdown, ultimately game-winning drive there at the end of the fourth quarter. So you look at the defense right now for the Texans. Number 1 in completion percentage, one of the best secondaries in the league, top 3 in pass yards, second in terms of pass touchdowns given up, and still top 5 in run defense. So the task is going to be extremely tall, extremely tough. But on the other end, you're probably not going to have to score a ton of points to win. This could be a big Cam Little game. Typically against elite defenses, one of the keys too is going to be rushing yards by the quarterback. In some of the big games that the Jags have had, we've seen Trevor Lawrence, especially that Chiefs game, he had big plays using his legs. 2 touchdowns in that game. And then last Sunday, he had 2 touchdowns. So Trevor Lawrence on the ground could be a sneaky secret weapon for the Jags to be able to move the ball, get some big third and short, keep the drives going, maybe get a big play in the red zone for the Jags offense.
This was a Britton Strange game last time. He had 6 for 61. Thomas only had 2 catches for 55 yards, including that one big catch. Trevor was 20 for 40 for 222. Our rushing attack was meh. Etienne and Tootin combined for 22 carries for about 75 yards, averaging about 3.5 per carry. So yeah, this is going to be a tight game. This is not going to be one where Jacksonville's flirting with 25 plus points unless Davis Mills is turning over the ball a ton. So it's going to be around execution. And this is one where Liam Cohen, I continue to trust to be able to scheme up some key third down conversions or some key touchdowns in the red zone. Because while Houston is pretty much, there's zero weakness on this defense, the only thing that they have been okay at is red zone defense. They're number 1 on third down, but their red zone defense is actually bottom 3rd. So if we can get in that field, I think it'll be really important for us to be able to punch in for touchdowns versus settling for field goals.
Well, there's also some things that we need to watch out for. 3 really important defensive players on the Texans are on the injury report and did not practice Wednesday. So we'll see if they're ready to go. But that's Jalen Petrie did not practice. He's in concussion protocol. Will Anderson Jr. did not practice with a quad, and Autry did not practice. So 2 people on the defensive line and their best safety all did not practice. We'll see if they practice either Thursday, Friday. But if they're missing all 3 of those people, that's going to be big for the Jaguars offense because those are some lifebloods for that defense.
Very true. And the Jags have their fair share of injuries as well in offense. De'Ami Brown, BTJ did not practice the other day. Hunter Long did not practice as well. So, but on the good side, Quentin Morris and Tim Patrick were back, and it's going to be, again, it's a division rivalry. You know the Texans, even though they may be giving up hope, they hate the Jaguars. They always want to beat us, and it's going to come down to who wants it more. You've got to be physical at the line. The only other weakness on the Texans defense is they don't have a great pass rush right now, which is crazy considering who they have off the edge. In fact, the Texans are in the bottom 10 in terms of sacks right now. So that offensive line's got to give Trevor time. And Joey, looking at those injuries on the Texans secondary, Jalen Petrie is a big one because you're probably not going to get a ton outside. Derek Stingley Jr. is probably CB1 in the league right now. Kamari Lassiter is also a very good outside corner. But in that slot, Parker Washington, he's been having a lot of love in the last 2 weeks, 19 targets, nearly 150 yards receiving in the last 2 games. So if you're going to start anyone on the Jags in terms of fantasy, it would probably be Parker Washington. And in terms of key players, it's number 11. Get him the ball. He's the physical guy. He'll go over the middle. He's not afraid of contact. He'll make the catch, and he has a proven rapport with Trevor. And so Parker Washington, in terms of the passing offense, is going to be big for the Jags, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think this is a big game for Parker Washington with possibly Jalen Petrie being out. I could also see them adding more passing to ETN and trying to get some of the running backs involved in the passing game, with our wide receiver core being pretty down, but Tim Patrick and Quentin Morris practice. So there's a wide receiver and a tight end that could be available for you. And then De'Ami Brown, practice limited. He was in a non-contact jersey, so he may or may not be ready to go. But you also have Jakobi Meyers, who won't be up to full speed, but I think they're still going to have him out there running some more simpler routes. And honestly, I thought we played a little better when we simplified it a little bit. When we had Tim Jones, Austin Trammell, and Parker Washington, Liam Cohen even talked about the reason why it seemed a little more successful was because they went away from some of the more complex stuff. I understand you want to have a call for everything that they show you, but sometimes it's important just go out there and run the play that is called, and your guy can be better than their guy, even though it's covered.
So let's switch the sides of the ball here, and we'll go to the defense. And I saw a comment on Twitter that I thought I just loved. I thought it really encapsulates how Jaguar fans feel when the Texans announced that they will be starting Davis Mills over CJ Stroud. And somebody said, very smart to use the Jags' inane weakness versus backup quarterbacks. That's right. The Jaguars somehow have this ability to continue to let backup quarterbacks look like the next coming of Peyton Manning. Is that what's about to happen for us this Sunday with Davis Mills versus our defense?
Well, do you know what the score was to the last time the Jags played the Texans and Davis Mills started?
But was he the starter?
Yes, no, the last time he was a starter. We won 31-3.
Let's do it again.
So we can absolutely tee off on him, hopefully. He also is nowhere near the scrambler or anything that CJ Stroud is. So hopefully Josh Allen couldn't go out there and break the sack record finally. And we can just kind of tee off, blitz them. And I don't think we need to worry about Davis Mills beating us over the top.
The sack record Joey's referring to is the fact that Josh Hines-Allen right now is tied for the all-time Jaguar leading sacker with all Jaguar great Tony Brackens. So one more half of sack would put him in the all-time lead for Jacksonville. And so, yeah, I think that's a good prediction is can he get that against the Texans this weekend?
Another interesting thing is CJ Stroud was not having a good season. So I know some Jags fans are saying, oh, man, we would have rather played Stroud. Davis Mills is the ultimate game manager. Like, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, isn't going to make big throws. He's played 40 games for his career, played college at Stanford, 62% completion rate, 35 TDs, 25 picks. So he's not going to play really aggressive, but I agree with you, Joey. The Jags defense needs to play super aggressive. Devin Lloyd is back. Apparently, he's been the key to our defense, the key to unlocking turnovers. When the Jags have gotten a turnover this season, they're 5-1. And the only loss was that kind of weird game to the Bengals, also a backup quarterback. Hopefully that's not a thing. But when the Jags get a turnover, there's something about it. We just play really, really well. You've got to be able to play aggressive. We saw this last week with Monteric Brown jumping that pass on second down. I want to see the corners make big plays. And even if you miss, like, go for the big plays against Davis Mills. He's not going to kill you over the top. He just doesn't have that type of arm. He doesn't have that type of ability. So don't let them just dink and dunk the ball all the way down the field. Go and make a big play.
The one thing he does have the ability to do is hyper target his favorite target right now, which is Nico Collins. The running game does not scare me. They're not very good at the running. They have a dual threat with rookie Marks as well as Chubb. Neither of them are great.
Chubb also did not practice, by the way. So
well, there you go. But that could just be the fact that he's a veteran. Sometimes veterans at this time of year will take the practice off. But yeah, I agree. Their rushing attack's not great, and Jacksonville's a top 5 run defense.
Top 3 now. Let's go.
Even better. But he will hyper target Nico Collins. And so that ultimately, I think, will make or break their success is, can they protect the ball, they being Houston, and can they get Nico Collins going? If they can do both of those things enough, could they put it in the teens and slop up the game to where, hey, maybe they find a way to win by 1 or 2 points?
I think this is a very important game for Greg Newsome. I thought he had a good game against the Raiders. He seems to be getting better and better the more he plays with us. He's the only one that I think can keep up with Nico Collins' speed. He's very fast. Monteric Brown, I think, is a very good cornerback, but his one downside is his speed. You watched him kind of get burnt by Tucker last week when he just was doing a drag route across field. So I would want to put Greg Newsome on Nico Collins always, and even shade maybe a safety over there as well to double team.
It's a good call out, and we need to watch out. Jordan Lewis is injured. Hopefully he's able to play on Sunday. We'll post those updates throughout the week on X, so follow us there. But Christian Kirk, we talked about it week 3. You know, is he going to try to have a revenge game? Didn't have a ton of – he had some more targets because that was his first game back, but that's something to watch out for as well. And fortunately, the Jags' historic weakness, especially last Sunday, tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. Well, all the Texans' tight ends are currently hurt. Dalton Schultz is questionable. Harrison Bryant is questionable. Probably one of those guys will play. Then Stover is on IR. So not a huge strength, especially if Schultz ends up out. But Joey, I remember you called this out in the week 3 matchup. You do need to watch out for Woody Marks out of the backfield as a receiving back. So don't let him get going, and don't let Davis Mills have that kind of safety hatch there with the running back out of the backfield.
Absolutely. I thought we did a pretty poor job of that last week with the Raiders. Running back was constantly wide open. Need to make sure that we have someone on Woody Marks constantly. That's honestly where he's the most effective, is when they're able to throw it to him. So you really want to watch out. Make sure you have Devin Lloyd or someone else watching Woody Marks constantly.
All right, keys to the game that you guys have and score predictions.
Keys to the game, I'm going to say offense, don't abandon the run and just keeping it simple. It's going to be a difficult time. Houston has a very good defense. You're going to have some 3 and outs, and it's going to be hard, but don't get too creative or don't beat yourself with a lot of penalties. Keep it simple. Make sure you run the ball a lot and just take what is given to you. Don't try to force it too much downfield.
Yeah, offensively, I want the Jags to start a lot faster. We just haven't been able to do that. In fact, I think, which is a terrible stat, I think we've started with a 3 and out the first drive, every drive since, I believe, week 4. Someone double check me on that in the comments, but it's been a long time since that first drive has not been a 3 and out. Let's not do that on Sunday in Houston in a division rival. But I think it's unleashing the running backs in whatever way. And again, we saw this last week. We saw ETN play in the Wildcat, I think more than I've ever seen him in the Wildcat in his entire career. So whatever it looks like, find creative ways to get ETN going. He's coming off a game where he broke 9 tackles, his season high. Get Tootin, get Hines-Allen going out of the backfield. And my number's going to be, if those 3 guys can get over 125 yards total between rushing and receiving, that feels really good, because you're probably going to be somewhere in that 180 to 200 yards of passing for Trevor. So 300 to 400 yards of offense. It's not a heyday, but I think that's going to be enough for the Jags to win. And I'll just say Cam Little's got to be rolling like he was last week. He's got to be automatic as well, because you can't give away any points in this game.
At about 85 combined last time around, so I like that 125, especially without Hunter, potentially without Brian Thomas Jr. and Strange. I think that's probably right, Jack. I'm going to go, look, it's going to be ugly. There's a lot of ways where you can still win this game only scoring 10 or 13 points. But I think it's turnovers. You can't give the Texans short fields. You can't turn over the ball in the red zone on the goal line multiple times. I think the Jaguars need 2 or less turnovers. So the fact, like, yes, you can turn it over once. You can potentially turn it over twice. But it needs to be under that. If you have 0 turnovers, I don't really see a scenario where Houston wins. I think they have to be opportunistic, and they have to set themselves up with a short field at times to steal points. And defensively, what I'm going to say is Nico Collins. If you can hold him under 125 yards, which is a very successful day for him, but if you can hold him under 125 yards, I think Jacksonville wins 90% of the time. I don't really see anybody else on Houston's team scaring me to do so. Give me Nico under 125 and the Jaguars offense doing less than, I guess, 3 turnovers, and I think we win this game.
Love it. Yeah, Coach Camp, draw up some double teams, maybe even some triple teams for Nico, because especially with a backup quarterback is what they love to do. It's what we're talking about offline. It's like if you're a backup quarterback, you just want to feed the number one guy all the time. It reminds me of a game where Steph Curry played for Davidson in college, where a team literally double teamed him every second he was on the court, even when the game wasn't going on. So maybe that's the game plan, where you just are always around Nico Collins. My key defensively is going to be lots of 3-and-outs. You need to be the aggressive team. You need to get some TFLs. You need to get some sacks. You need to get some big plays. Maybe Davis Mills plays it super conservative and doesn't turn the ball over, but I want to see at least 5 3-and-outs, and that means you should be able to win time of possession like we were able to dominate last week versus the Raiders. So 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. Let's see that bunch for the Jags D.
I want to say it's going to be getting pressure on Davis Mills and forcing him to make a mistake. We saw Josh Hines-Allen finally getting some sacks at the end of that game, had 1.5. We've been watching him all season get really close, so quarterback would squeeze out of his tackle, or he was just like right there. But hopefully he now is starting to finish. He sees what he needs to do. Trayvon Walker hopefully can stay in the entire game. Not get ejected. So getting some pressure, getting sacks is going to be a key factor in this game for our defense.
Let's go. Big game on Sunday in Houston. Can the Jaguars get their brooms out and sweep the Texans? We're going to find out. But before we do, we want to hear from y'all your predictions. So drop that either in the YouTube comments, or we're going to post it later on Twitter so you can respond there, and we'll give a shout out to whoever is closest. And I'll get us rolling. I do have it as a close game. I think there is a potential where if the Jags can get that fast start, they can put a ton of pressure on Davis Mills, force him to try to win the game, and that's where we could really open up the game. And I don't know about a 31-3, but I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to get a blowout game, because it feels like a lot of them have been close. But I'm going to give it to the team that wins the close games this year. I'm going to give it to the clutch team. I'm going to give it to the team that finds a way to win the game, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars winning a thriller. Jaguars 17 to the Texans 16. I want to see the Jaguars move to 6-3 and sweep the Texans on Sunday.
17-16 would mean Jacksonville is not covering the current spread at 1.5, Jack. But I think that's certainly in the realm of possibility. It's very similar to how they just played the Broncos 18-15 at home a couple weeks ago, or sorry, last week. But yeah, give me also a Jacksonville victory. Give it to me around the same score, but give me Jacksonville 20, Houston 13, with a 1 possession victory as well. I think there's a lot of ways Jacksonville wins this game. If we score more than 17, it feels like almost certainly we will win this game.
That was the number I was exactly thinking, JT. So I'm going to change it slightly. I have a Jags victory. I think we pretty much handle this game the entire time. I don't think the Texans are going to be that great with Davis Mills. And then one of their better players, Fairborn, their kicker, is out. They pick up kicker ex-Jaguar Matthew Wright, who was the guy that kicked the field goal for us to beat the Chargers in the 2022 comeback playoff. He's a good kicker, but he doesn't have a very big leg, and he hasn't played in a while, so we'll see kind of how that goes for them. But I see us winning 23-13. I think we can get 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. I think Cam Little's going to have a game because I think we're going to get on the other side of the field, maybe not finish all the time, but I see Cam Little making at least 3 field goals.
Man, y'all have a lot of faith in the Jags offense that has not been that great. But, I mean, if we get multiple turnovers, I see it. But you look at the Texans, they've only given up 20 points twice. Once, week 2 to the Buccaneers, 20 points, and then 2 to the Seahawks, 27. They've held a lot of pretty good teams to under 20 points. The Rams under 20, Ravens under 20, 49ers under 20, Broncos under 20. So I think we all feel good about the Jags winning, but if we score 20, yeah, we should 100%.
They also potentially have 3 guys that are studs on their defense missing.
Yeah, that's
And
what I was about to say. Is I'm more on the
Davis
injury.
Mills could end up giving turnovers. So I agree with you that seems to be high on, like, I struggle to see us getting more than 24, but I do think there's many scenarios where we could get up to 20.
Yeah, and the biggest one I would say is Jalen Petrie. I mean, he's in concussion protocol. I don't think he's playing.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that CJ Stroud is in. And our slot is going to be our most important person, and that's Parker Washington. Liam Cohen already said that he's going to be playing slot. So I see us being able to get at least 2 touchdowns, maybe, or definitely a lot of field goals. If Will Anderson's not going to play and Autry, that's huge for the defensive line. So ETN definitely could eat. I think we could do fairly well.
All right, well, we'll find out on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Right now, our prediction standings is I have 6-2, Joey at 5-3, JT at 4-4. So all 3 of us have a Jags victory. Hopefully, we can get to 6-3 and continue to keep our playoff spot and maybe gain a game on the Colts because they have a game in Germany Sunday morning. So we'll know that result by the time of the Jags game. And you never know in those European games. So maybe the Jags could be sitting there 1 spot behind the Colts for the AFC South title. But it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a rivalry matchup. And who wants it more on Sunday? Hopefully, it's your Jacksonville Jaguars. And hopefully, we'll be shouting this a ton in the game. Dude.